There's a saying that men forget faster than women, but let me tell you something that flips the script. Women never forget a man who makes them feel something they can't replace. It doesn't matter how much time passes, how many new people enter her life, or even if she gets married to someone else. If a man gave her something real that touched her at her core, he will always live rent-free in her mind. And that's not just romance, it's about impact. A lot of men think it's about being rich, having the best body, or being the most charming in the room. Wrong. Those things fade, and women move on from them quickly. What doesn't fade is how you make her feel. That's the part no woman can erase. A man who stands out isn't the one who tries too hard, but the one who carries himself in a way that lingers in her memory long after he's gone. And here's the controversial part. Sometimes it's not even the man she ends up with. Women marry men they don't always remember forever, but the unforgettable one? He's the man who changed something in her, whether it was how she saw herself, how she experienced love, or how she realized her worth. That's the man her mind replays when she's quiet, alone, and honest with herself. So if you've ever wondered why some men live permanently in a woman's memory while others fade away like background noise, the answer is simple. It's not about being perfect, it's about doing the right things that leave an impression she can't shake off. And today, I'm going to break down exactly what those things are. A man who listens with intention, not with impatience. A woman will never forget the man who actually listens to her, not the kind of listening where you nod your head and wait for your turn to speak, but the kind where she feels every word matters to you. Women are constantly surrounded by men who want to impress them, lecture them, or prove a point. But the man who sits back, locks in, and listens with genuine curiosity becomes unforgettable. Listening is powerful because it communicates value. It tells her, what you think and feel is important to me. And the truth is, women don't often get that from men. Most men brush them off, rush them, or pretend to hear them just to keep the peace. But when you slow down, ask thoughtful questions, and remember details she mentioned days ago, you stand out in her memory like no one else. This doesn't mean you have to agree with everything she says or turn into her therapist. It's about showing her that her words are safe with you, that she's not speaking into a void. A woman will replay conversations with a man who made her feel understood, even years later, because it left a lasting emotional imprint. 2. Imagine this. She mentions casually one day that her grandmother always baked a certain type of pie for her birthday. You don't make a big deal about it, you just listen. Months later, her birthday comes, and instead of a cliche gift, you surprise her with that same pie. That small act shows her you didn't just hear her, you remembered her. And trust me, that kind of intentional listening is something she will never forget. Men underestimate how unforgettable attentive listening is because they think grand gestures are what leave marks. But the truth is, it's often the little moments of patience and presence that make a woman carry your memory with her for life. A man who makes her feel safe without controlling her. One thing that will etch a man permanently in a woman's memory is the way he made her feel safe, physically, emotionally, and mentally, without ever needing to control her. Safety is one of the deepest desires of a woman, yet it's also one of the most misunderstood by men. Too many think safety means domination, or being overly protective in a way that limits her freedom. But the truth is, safety is about stability, trust, and consistency. When a woman feels safe around you, she knows she can open up without being judged. She knows that in your presence, she doesn't have to put up walls, play games, or constantly be on guard. That feeling is rare, and it's addictive. Once she's had it, she never forgets it. Even if life pulls you apart, her memory will keep circling back to the man who gave her that emotional security. This is where most men fail. They confuse power with presence. Presence is calm, steady, and reassuring. It's the look that says, I've got this, without being boastful. It's the action that says, I'll protect you if needed, without trying to own her decisions. That balance of strength and freedom is unforgettable. 1. Imagine this. She's had a terrible day at work, everything went wrong, and she feels like breaking down. She comes to you, expecting maybe silence or dismissal, but instead, you sit with her, let her talk, and reassure her without trying to fix everything. You don't mock her emotions or rush her healing. You simply hold the space for her. That one act of strength disguised as patience will stay in her heart forever because most men don't know how to do it. The man who can give safety without control isn't just remembered, he becomes the standard every other man is measured against. A man who makes her feel safe in his presence. A woman never forgets the man who gave her peace in a world that constantly feels chaotic. Safety is not just about protecting her from physical harm, it's about creating an environment where she doesn't have to wear a mask, where she can let her guard down without fear of judgment or betrayal. That kind of safety is rare, and when a man provides it, he carves a permanent place in her memory. Think about it. Women are used to dealing with games, manipulation, and men who only see them as a temporary option. When she comes across a man who doesn't play with her emotions, who doesn't make her feel small, and who doesn't treat her vulnerability as a weapon to use against her, that experience is unforgettable. There's also the emotional side of safety. If she can tell you her deepest fears without you laughing, dismissing, or using them later in an argument, that trust becomes unshakable. Emotional security is what allows her to feel like she's not alone in the relationship. A man who gives her that doesn't just stand out in her past, he lives there. Safety also shows itself in consistency. A man who keeps his word, who doesn't disappear when things get tough, who doesn't switch up his energy when he's moody. This type of man is the definition of reliability. And reliability is one of the most powerful ways to be remembered. What makes this unforgettable is how rare it is. Women never forget the men who gave them peace after dealing with storm after storm. Even if the relationship ends, she'll think back and compare every man after you to that standard of safety you once set. That's how deeply it imprints on her. The men who are unforgettable are the ones who provided a sense of security she can't replicate with just anyone. And that is something no woman walks away from easily in her memory. A man who challenges her to grow, not stay the same. One of the reasons some men fade quickly from a woman's memory is because they never pushed her to be better. They were comfortable letting her stay the same, repeating the same cycles, never questioning her patterns, never expecting more from her. And let me be honest, those men become forgettable. What a woman never forgets is the man who, in his own way, challenged her to level up, not by controlling her or criticizing her in a harsh way, but by setting a standard so high that she had no choice but to grow alongside him. Now, here's where many men get it wrong. Some of you complain about being unappreciated or overlooked by women, but the truth is, you never inspired her to look at life differently. You never sparked that fire in her to think bigger, to act better, or to rise above what she was used to. And the man who does that, he becomes unforgettable because he wasn't just a partner, he became a turning point in her life. This doesn't mean you have to lecture her or constantly point out what she's doing wrong. That only creates resistance. It means you live your life at such a high standard that she has no choice but to elevate herself just to keep up with you. She sees your discipline, your vision, your drive, and it makes her want to be the best version of herself, too. Wake up and understand this. Women remember the men who impact their growth, the ones who held them accountable in love, not ego, the ones who showed them that being with them meant being on a journey, not standing still. If you want to be unforgettable, stop being the man who only gives comfort. Be the man who gives direction. Because long after you're gone, she'll look back and remember the way you pushed her to grow when no one else cared to. A man who stays true to his word. A woman may forgive mistakes, she may overlook flaws, but she will never forget a man whose word meant something. In a world where people promise one thing and deliver another, the man who follows through stands out in her memory forever. It's not about grand gestures, it's about consistency. When you say you'll call, you do. When you say you'll be there, you show up. When you give your word, it isn't just noise, it's a contract. And every time you keep it, her trust in you deepens. That trust turns into respect, and that respect cements you in her heart long after the relationship may end. Too many men underestimate how powerful consistency is. They think love is only about romance, attraction, or even money. But let me be blunt. All of that fades if your words can't be trusted. A man who lies, flakes, or constantly shifts his standards doesn't only lose her love, he loses her memory. She forgets him because there was nothing solid about him to hold on to. But a man who proves, time and time again, that his word is law, that man lives rent-free in her mind. Not because he was perfect, but because she knew his presence was reliable and his promises weren't empty. That's the man she can never erase. The most controversial truth is this: a woman doesn't remember the man who spoiled her the most, entertained her the most, or even gave her the most pleasure. She remembers the man who left a mark on her character, the man who shifted how she saw herself, how she valued relationships, and how she measured other men. That's the man she can never erase, no matter how hard she tries. And here's where men often get it wrong. They think being unforgettable means being everything she wants. Number. Being unforgettable means standing so firmly in who you are that she can't replace you with anyone else. That's why some of the most unforgettable men in a woman's life aren't the ones who gave her the world. They're the ones who made her realize she couldn't take them for granted. I want you to share your experiences in the comments. Have you ever had a woman come back months or even years later because something you did still stuck with her? I'll be going through your stories personally, and I'll reach out to some of you too. And don't miss the next video because I'll expose the shocking reasons why women respect men they once rejected.